Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. This is the Imperfect Ashlers Masonic Podcast. All the views and opinions stated on this show are strictly those of the host and their guests and do not reflect the opinions of any Masonic Lodge or Grand Lodge.
What's up, y'all? We are the Imperfect Ashlers, and we're back. I forgot to look at the episode. I think it's 18.
18.
Doesn't sound right. And I know we said the last one was special, but this one tops the cake.
You talking about the interview with Brother Eric Eddy,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Before we start, I'm Brother Ben.
Yeah, and I'm Brother Zach. And today, I'm trying to make sure I'm in the frame a little bit. But probably the most special guest we could have.
We're going to get
the most worshipful Grandmaster of the Grand Lodge of Alabama, Brother Richard Schultz. Yep.
Thank you, sir.
So it's good to have you here. First thing, I'll just get you to introduce yourself, your lodges, any positions you hold outside of the Grand Lodge.
Thank you, sir. Well, brethren, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Richard Schultz, and I do have the privilege, as well as to be the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Alabama. I'm a current member of Cordova Lodge number 559 and Revival Lodge number 935 here in Group 3.
What about appendant bodies? Are you pretty much in all of them, I guess?
Yeah, I don't think you could throw a stone and not hit an appendant body that I'm in. I do have the privilege of being in the York Rite and the Scottish Rite, the Shrine, the Grotto. I'm also a widow's son. I've done several of the what you call maybe the side degrees in the York Rite. I'm a Knight Mason. I'm also in the York Rite College. So anywhere where I could find that further light, that's kind of what I've done.
I understand that
absolutely.
Well, we'll jump right into it, basically. And I know we've kind of discussed a little bit about some of the things we may talk about. And it's the same question I've got for everybody. What got you into Masonry, just from the beginning?
Well, it's a little bit of a funny story, I guess, to me anyway. So I'm a third generation Mason, so a little bit of a legacy there. When I joined Masonry, I joined late. I was about 38 years old. And I said I was a legacy, so that is kind of getting off to a late start. But I joined the military, and at that time, when I was in the first Persian Gulf War. So when I went to war the first time, I was only 20 years old. And I was gone and I was out of country. And when I got back, I immediately went to school. And I tease my dad to this day because he and my grandfather were both of that generation where to be one, you have to ask one. And we really didn't talk about it. And so it was years later, I knew they were Masons. And this is on me too. This is the funny part of the story. I never really asked. So a good friend of mine, Tim Tessner, his dad was a member of Cordova Lodge, and Tim went to a funeral. His uncle, as well as his dad, were both Master Masons. The uncle passed away. Tim saw his first Masonic funeral, and whatever that was, it kind of touched him. And I'd already been thinking about it, and Tim came one day and he said, "Hey, I think I'm going to go to my dad and ask for a petition." I said, "You know what?" I said, "Get me one while you're at it."
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's good.
It seems like that's not really the trend, but it seems like a lot of people nowadays don't really know about Masonry that don't have family already in there.
Exactly right.
And that's, like we said before, that's why we do this.
That's
just
right.
to get it out there and let people know where you are.
That's right. Well, and I think past Grand Master Brother Mike Taylor, said it best. If we're in our circles and we don't talk about it, then nobody else knows about it.
That's right.
And I'm of this same opinion. I always knew in the back of my head that my grandfather and my dad were both Masons, but they didn't, they're of that old school and they really didn't talk about it.
Right.
And it's incumbent upon me, sorry, Dad, but it's incumbent upon me as well. I could have been asking, I could have been talking, but I think God does everything for a reason and in his own time, and that's just the way it worked out. I'm glad it did.
Yeah, I couldn't have given a better story than that. True.
And look at where you're at now.
Yeah, exactly.
Grandmaster State of Alabama.
Yeah. So, what keeps you motivated? What gives you that drive to continue on and to pursue the Grand Line?
For me, it's that spark, that motivation, that drive is all about the brethren. I don't do anything. I've never done anything in this fraternity not having the brethren foremost in my mind. So to me, getting up every day, going to lodge, going to, degrees or ritual or fundraisers or coming here and sitting with the imperfect ashlers, I do nothing without the brethren being at first in my mind. That's my motivation. When I became Grandmaster, I started in the line about 4 years ago. And again, I go back to my mentor and my good friend, Brother Mike Taylor. When he became Grandmaster, he said, for an entire year, I'm committed to Freemasonry. If I get up, no matter what day it is, and there's something I can do or go to, that's what I'm going to do. That way, when we get down to Grand Lodge and it's all over with, then I've left all my cards and all my chips on the table, right? So I took that page from him as well. I do nothing that's not for the brethren or for the lodges. And I get up every day and do that, and that's what keeps me motivated.
I hear you.
I've got a question for you. That kind of leads into one of the questions that I had was, so obviously one of our working tools is the 24-inch gauge. How did you find, how hard did you find it to adhere to the 3 divisions of your 8 hours as laid out by the 24-inch gauge?
They do tend to bleed over for sure. Okay. They do tend to bleed over for sure. Yeah, I've had several conversations with the brethren throughout this journey, and they keep asking me, so, what are you going to do when you roll out of the chair, in November? And I jokingly say, well, I'm going to cut my grass and take a nap, but again,
take Anna out for
I'm going to take Anna out. That's right.
Wine and dine her.
That's right. She's already kind of promised for me that she gets to go on a 2-week trip. And so we'll probably do something like that. But yeah, I mean, I still work full time, I still go to lodge every night, and whatever little hours are left in the day is for me to do stuff around the house and sleep. But again, I think it's incumbent upon me, because the brethren had so much regard and trust and confidence in me, to hold this position that, yes, I have to take care of my family and I have to take care of work, and those things are important according to our 24-inch gauge, and that's what we do as Masons. But with whatever hours I got left, I can always sleep later. I'm going to work and serve for the brethren. That's what I do.
And that's one thing, and I think we've mentioned it before on the show, is how much y'all actually do travel and things.
Everywhere.
It's more than I've ever seen, and I've been in. I was raised in 2010, and y'all have done so much more than most of the Grandmasters I've seen come through in my time.
I think I've been at 5 different degrees that they've been at.
Well, and I think that, and that goes back to what I said about taking that page out of Mike Taylor's book. Mm-hmm. We meant it, and not just me, but all the guys in my line. We talked after installation, and we said, okay, we're going to visit as many lodges as we can. Mm-hmm. We had a personal goal to visit at least 50 lodges we had never been to before.
Like that,
and these guys are some of the best. They push each other. They push me. I get phone calls and text messages. Hey, Grandmaster, what are we doing tonight? What are we doing tomorrow? Hey, this is what I got on the list for next week. What do you think about that? So we're constantly pushing each other to see how far we can go and how many lodges we can see and how many brethren we can talk to.
So looking at your grand line, and you've got some excellent guys that are, I mean, really, and watching, who was it that did the senior deacon at the Master Mason at Birmingham Metro, Jason
Gauntz.
Yeah. Jason Gauntz, man, he did such an excellent job the other night. I was going to ask you, what was, when you have appointed guys on the line, what was some of the criteria that you looked at with these men when you picked those for those positions?
So every appointed officer on that line is at least a current sitting or has been a past master of his lodge. Almost every member of that appointed line is either a district lecturer or a DDGM. Every man on that line has been not only done those things, but they're motivated to visit lodges. Yes, we're an appointed line. We're in the grand line. and we made it our business to do those things. But I watched them for years, and they were going to degree work. They were visiting other lodges. They're incredibly smart. They're incredibly motivated. And honestly, no offense, guys, but I would challenge any grandmaster coming after me. Choose a better line than I got.
And me and Zach, we've talked about it. You couldn't have picked a better bunch of men to work with you. That's just, I mean, it's a great line.
Well, and people have asked me that in the past, and and I've told these guys too. I knew what position they were going to be in my grand line years before I ever became grandmaster.
Yeah,
that's good.
I knew it. I like I said, I've been watching them for years. My grand chaplain, brother Joe Fowler, is a retired minister. He's in one of my lodges down in Odom Crafton Parish, and he's been a really good friend of mine. I just knew if the brethren trusted me enough to put me on that position, he was going to be my chaplain.
Yeah.
It's just little things like that that I cannot express enough how great these guys are. They really are. And I wouldn't be what I am today without them. The past Grand Masters, just a little bit off topic here, but all of the past Grand Masters who have had a hand in shaping me to get here. Mike Taylor, Frank Little, Ron Andrus, Greg Durr, all these guys.
Yeah.
That speaks for itself.
They've had a
Good
hand,
man.
a little bit of a hand, and that speaks volumes to me. And I think these guys are great. I really do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. They're wonderful, and they're the most willing people.
Absolutely.
A lot of times you come in and have a Master Mason degree, and gosh, you short, and they're the ones willing to work 2 and 3 parts in the degree.
I think it comes from a deep-seated desire to serve the lodge and serve the brethren, and you can see it.
Yeah.
And, one thing about being a Mason is what you do when people aren't really watching you, right? You're just doing stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I can sit back and watch these guys, and they're the most incredible people ever.
They have integrity.
They have
They've
it.
got that integrity.
And without that, I think we're suffering. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. So what? And this is kind of on that same line. What is, as Grandmaster, what's been your favorite thing to do? Whether it's the traveling or visiting lodges, or just if you have a certain point or anything that just sticks out in your mind.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what we said earlier, that by far the best thing about being Grandmaster, and there are a lot of duties involved in being a Grandmaster, right? I mean, you phone calls all day into the night, text messages, emails, decisions you've got to make, but by far the most favorite thing is just being able to go to these lodges anywhere in the state or in another jurisdiction, and just having the privilege of sitting with my brethren.
Man, I thought he was going to say being on the Imperfect Ashes podcast.
I'll play it.
And that too.
I was sitting in lodge Thursday night, and when we were doing good of the order, and you guys will both know what I'm talking about. I had such a deep sense of fondness, of love, of just. You felt it the other night too, and I was like, God, I really love these guys. I love this organization. I love this fraternity, and it's just a good thing.
That's right.
You start mentioning names like Brother Mike Taylor, who is somebody that we're going to try to get on this podcast as what's his title with the Scottish Rite?
So he's the deputy of the Orient of Alabama.
Okay, and that's what we're going to try to get him on here because of our
we
need
to branch off.
Yeah, we're trying to
get into the appendant body.
Well, I'm like you.
Yeah.
I'm in as much as I can be in,
absolutely.
but we haven't given the Scottish Rite, and I'm starting the chance that we did the York Rite, and I think I'm missing out on some light that you were talking about right there.
That's right, absolutely.
That's one of those things. We went through the Albert Pike and Patrol, and
nice.
It kind of was off-putting at first, and it was we know how any of the appendant bodies are great.
Sure.
We just, to me, it was one of those. I'll come back to that.
So, what is your favorite appendant body?
Oh no, not getting to that.
No answer.
So what to somebody that was, I'm trying to think how to word it. If their dream was to be Grandmaster, what kind of advice do you think you'd maybe give to them?
It's got to come from a place of service.
I like
It
that.
really does. You know, to be honest here, and with the brethren who may watch this, I never actively sought any of this out.
Right.
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't even seek out to be really a district lecturer. But I will tell you a story going back. You know, I said earlier, Tim's dad, you know, when he went to ask for that petition, you know, Tim's dad brought us in, right? His name is Paul Tessner. And, you know, Paul helped initiate, pass, and raise me and Tim, taught us all three of our lessons, set in when we went and got our teaching certificates. And then Paul passed away. So back in 2011, when the tornadoes came through Cordova and basically devastated the town, we lost our lodge. Paul Tessner went right to work with several of the other brethren of that lodge, and got the blueprints and got the money and everything that we needed to get that lodge built. 3 weeks before he moved back, Paul passed away. One of the last conversations that I had with Paul Tessner, I went to his house and sat down on his bed, and he looked at me and he said, "Richard, don't let this go off the rails." So, you know, you can take that a couple of different ways. One, don't let, you know, help the lodge as much as you can. But I kind of took it a step further in my mind. Don't let masonry go away.
Mm.
Paul loved masonry. And so that, going back to motivations and sparks, that's a part of it too. So if anybody wishes to seek, you know, be a district lecturer or be on the Grand Line, it has to come from a point of service to the brethren. Don't let it go off the rails.
All right.
You know what I mean?
I like that. That's beautiful.
That is.
I love that. You got anything?
I do.
on that?
And I had a question, and it just, when you asked me that, it slipped my mind. But one of the things that I was, let me see if I can pull this out of the recesses of my
There's
brain.
sometimes we just start blabbering.
Yeah,
so-
you got to stay with us.
That's right.
What I was going to ask you. So do all grandmasters still get a car?
So the way that works is it's different between the various groups, right?
Okay.
But each group, when their guy gets on the line, they'll get together over the course of that 4 years and they'll raise money for him. Some groups will give him a car, some groups will just give him some money, and that grandmaster can choose to buy a vehicle or use it for his travel for throughout the course of that year.
Because you
So-
put a lot of miles on there, and I want to commend you and your
Yes.
line, because what you guys have done is what masonry needs. These young men, they need to see their
That's right.
grandmaster.
That's
They
right.
need to know who you are.
That's right.
I mean, it's just, first of all, we bring these guys, and some of them 21 years old, and then we dump them into a room with a bunch of really old men. Now, me personally, I'm one of those old men.
Me too.
And even getting up into the 80-year-old men, I love the presence of the older men.
Absolutely.
And these young men, they come to masonry seeking that fellowship
That's right.
from
Yes.
older men,
That's right.
and they need to know that their grandmaster's interested in them, as
Yep.
well as the rest of the lodges that see you guys
That's
come
right.
in. And it's been refreshing seeing you guys doing all the work that y'all have. It's
Yep.
been something else.
I'm very proud to
Thank
one call you Grandmaster,
Thank you,
and
sir.
and the same with every one of them that's
Yeah.
up there.
I've had several brothers from several different lodges express the same thing to me. Thank you, for coming and see us. We, for as long as I've been at X Lodge, I've never seen a grandmaster, or it's been X number of decades since we've seen a grandmaster.
Mhm.
And again, going back to what we talked about earlier, in service to the brethren, that's what I wanted to do. I
Right.
wanted to go and touch as many lodges as I could, love on as many of the brethren as I possibly could
Yeah,
for that reason.
well, you've done
I like it.
Thank you, sir.
very good
I
job.
appreciate that.
And that's, there's some, I know a lot of the past grandmasters are older and things like
Mhm.
that, and you see them, they'll travel around their group. But,
Absolutely.
y'all have gone as far as I know, the furthest you've gone is Alaska. Is that
Yep. We went to Alaska.
And I
that's
wasn't
awesome.
invited.
Yeah. Believe it or not, he's actually got a place in Alaska.
I don't have a place. I've got a little. I don't have a place in
Yeah,
Alaska.
we've tried to do as much as we can. We've touched all four corners of this state. We've visited all 5 groups. We've gone to most of the jurisdictions in the southeast and to Alaska. If I had more time, I'd go to as many more as I could. There's only so many days.
I was going to ask, have you done anything international at all?
So I did have an opportunity. Next week, we had planned a few months ago, actually a little bit longer than that, but we were going to go to the Grand Lodge of Ireland. And and as a matter of fact, Jason Gauntz and Robert Elsner are going still. But my wife got sick. She spent some time in the hospital, and just for her health and my well-being in my mind, we discussed it. I left the choice up to her, and I said, we can always do this later. It doesn't have to be right now. I think it's more important to get you healthy than to try and push the issue. And she was like, "Yeah, I think you're right."
You're always going to be a Mason.
Absolutely.
You always have a chance to go to that.
That's the one thing that no matter what we do in this fraternity, and I'm glad you pointed that out, we'll always be Masons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's one thing that I've personally experienced myself is international Masonry, and that just it gives me chills.
It's mind blowing.
It is.
And backing up just what does Alaska Masonry look like? Because I visit out there pretty frequently, and there's a lodge. I think it's in Kenai, but the lodge I went to was in Anchorage.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
So how does Masonry, does it look the same as in
It looks exactly the same. As a
that?
matter of fact, the current Grand Master of Alaska, Michael Hoskins, is a good friend of mine, which is why we went, because I wanted to see him get installed as Grand Master, but he's from Kenai. And they have about, I think the highest number, and don't kill me, Michael, but I think the highest numbered lodge that they have is like 25, 28, but they currently have only 19 lodges still active. But to get to any of those lodges, it's either by land or by air, and most of it's by air, right?
Yeah.
Right.
They're pretty spread out up there.
That's right. So.
On that note, with the numbers, I know lately we've seen, at least in our state, a decline in membership from death or I don't know what you call it. When you quit,
attrition,
renouncing. How, as Grandmaster, does that? I guess the best way to say it is make you feel.
Yeah. So I've been asked this a few times over the years. Of course, we want as many good men in Masonry as we possibly want, right? And again, it's more about the quality of the person rather than the quantity of the people. I personally think that we're at the beginning of a renaissance in Masonry. I really do. If you go back and you look at the graph of the ups and downs in the numbers of Masonry, at the highest point right after World War II, there were 70, 80,000 Master Masons in the state of Alabama alone. And then, of course, it kind of tends down through the Vietnam era, and we've got a little hills and valleys in the 70s and 80s. But I really do think, even though we have yet to overcome the, for lack of a better word, the death number, because we're losing those World War II guys quicker than we can replace them. I was looking at Grandview not long ago, and we actually, I think this year, have initiated, passed, and raised a significant number of Masons, though it's without the death number, it would have been a positive.
Right.
So I think we're going to get to a point where we equal out, and I think with that renaissance coming, we're going to see an upward trend in Masonry.
I would love
that's kind of where that's kind of where we stand. We feel like Masonry is fixing to go through an uptick.
Oh, it is.
And noticed that, even with church and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
People coming into that.
Absolutely.
Hopefully that will kind of bleed over to us a little bit.
Exactly. It's going to take all of us to keep those numbers. If we want to call it a number, let's call it a number. It's going to take all of us loving on our brethren, loving on the lodges, visiting, and just going out and trying to do the things that we've been doing over this past year. They say to be a good leader, you got to lead by example, right?
Good shepherding committee.
And I attribute a lot of that to the shepherding committee.
Yes.
Those guys are running around the state saying, hey, this, be a mentor, love one another. This is how you, when you see somebody come in the door, shake their hand, hug their neck, and that's what we do. I've had several conversations over the last couple of years, and I'm a firm believer in this. Masonry is not what we do in the lodge in between the gavel raps. Masonry is what we do when we're outside of lodge, when we're right here at the Imperfect Ashlers and we're talking about it, when we go to fundraisers, when we go to degree work, when you show up for a funeral for a brother. That's Masonry.
Yes.
And I think if we lead by example and we show some of these younger guys that, we can still go out and do all of this stuff, yeah, maybe we got to give up a couple of things on a Saturday, like a football game. But you know
I'd
what?
give it up anyway.
There's always going to be football games. So
Yeah.
let's go out and let's make a difference.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's what, I went to a Native American festival this weekend, and like I told you earlier, I met just as many Masons as I did Native Americans, and that it warmed me
Yeah,
to the bone.
one of my highlights of this year was when we went to Lootsahatchee Lodge earlier in the year, and the Oklahoma Indian guys came, and they were singing their songs and showing us their dances, and then they put on probably one of the most outstanding Master Mason degrees I had ever seen.
Really?
It was something.
I didn't get to see that.
I had the privilege of sitting in the east during the first section when they conferred that, and the master of that section's 93 years old and didn't miss a beat. Did not miss a beat.
That's dedication. On that subject, real quick, I don't think we've even talked about this. Do you know around about how many people you've raised since you've been the Grandmaster?
I'd have to go back and count it, but we're probably in the 30s or 40s.
Okay.
Yeah, over the last 8 to 9 months.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
This is the question. This question may take you off a little bit, but so do you feel this? And I didn't. This was not in the list of questions that we sent you, so I'm going to apologize in advance.
This is the gotcha one I've been waiting for.
I apologize.
Gotta make you think a little bit.
Okay, we got to make you think a little bit. And I know you're a thinker. I can tell that. So, is Lodge, the Blue Lodge? So, is it in your opinion, is it a place just to conduct lodge business, or is it a place to where we need to bring the young men in and teach them the degree work, or is that something that needs to be done separately in a school of instruction? Or do you understand where I'm going with that?
Do. And so let me answer it this way. I do not believe that Masonry is a hobby. I think it's a lifestyle. And wherever we need to position those young men or older men to make Masonry happen, I think that's what we ought to do. I certainly do. Masonry in motion, like I said, it's not just in the tiled lodge in between the gavel wraps. It's wherever we're at and whatever we're doing to make us better, So yeah, I think whatever the location is, let's call it a lodge if you want to call it a lodge, or hey, if we go out to a ball field and we're just out there together, and we're cooking out and having a good time, we can still do those things to to further Masonry in this state. Absolutely.
I heard on another podcast. I wish I could recall it to give them credit for it, but their subject was kind of that, what is Masonry to you? And that, of course, you've kind of answered that already, but one of the guys said something, and I wish I could quote it verbatim, but to an extent, it basically was Masonry it's a noun to an extent, but at the same time, it's a verb.
Absolutely.
And I love that. That just goes right along with it.
So I take credit. Don't take credit for it, but I take credit for listening. There's a past Grandmaster in Florida. He and I were having a conversation, and he coined the term Masonry in motion, and that's exactly what that is. Yeah,
I like that a lot.
So a lot of times, especially with the young guys, and the reason I ask you that question is with the young guys, lodges, they just read the minutes and go through the business, good of the order, and then we go home. It's boring.
That's right.
So the angle I was going at, do we need to include more work into lodge nights?
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah. So the other part of the answer to that question is I've always said that lodges need to have more. It can't just be reading the minutes, having good of the order, sickness and distress, and going home. It has to include an education portion. It has to include additional ritual work and training. It has to include eating a meal. All
Always.
of these things are important. On top of that, bring your wives or your family with you. You go in, you shut the door, you take care of your tile business, and then the family's out there eating desserts and having a good time and talking and getting to know one another. Because once your wife and your kids are happy with meeting the other wives and kids and talking and bonding, that makes our work so much easier.
So much easier.
We
And that's
can't-
something
yeah.
something we just done.
That's right. We can't do what we do without their support
No,
anyway.
no.
So why aren't we
thank
bringing them
God
in?
for my wife.
Exactly. Why aren't we bringing them in and including them in this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to apologize. We did lose video for a little bit. I've got it back going now. I don't know when it stops, but it'll be edited and we'll go from there. But we did lose video for a little bit.
That just saves them some seeing my ugly face for a couple of seconds. So that's a good thing.
Right
Yeah.
back there, not
Shine
on your
a bald head up there.
and that's stuff like that. We can banter back and forth, and that's from this getting to know each other
Absolutely.
outside of the
Absolutely.
lodge building.
Yep.
Then I spent the night last night with our worshipful master and got to see him outside of lodge. I love that.
Absolutely.
Hang out,
yeah.
have a couple of drinks, whatever.
I mean, if you only come to lodge once a month or twice a month, and that's the only experience you have with your brothers, you're missing so much more.
Oh yes.
That's not at all.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think our lodge is going in the right direction of trying to do community events and working together outside.
Absolutely.
We've got a family night where we come in and we have a meal and it's on a regular lodge night, but we just do away that we'll open lodge, do away with the business and everything and just fellowship.
Absolutely.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Connections. It's all about connections.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I had the privilege of going to the Widow Son State Rally a couple of weekends ago, and there were probably 250 Master Masons there,
Wow.
and not only from Alabama, but we had them from Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and their wives. That some of them brought their children, and one of the coolest things was Brother Roy Drinkard. He's 105 years old. He's the oldest Marine in the state of Alabama. I had the privilege of giving him his 80-year pin, and his grandson and great granddaughter were there to see it.
Wow.
And when you talk about
Incredible.
family,
Yes.
and you talk about the privilege of being able to do something, talk about highlights, favorite things a grandmaster gets to do.
That's got to be it.
You can get it any better than that.
How many 80-year pins do you get to pin?
Well, and that was the thing. I was talking to one of my officers, and they pointed this out to me. How many more chances will you get to give a 80-year pin?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So
especially and
you got to be 21. I mean that's you got to make it to a 101 to just to get that pin.
And I have to give a special shout out to Brian Warren of the Widow Sons. He put all of that together. He called me and he said, "Hey, Grandmaster, what do you think about this?" I said, "I'm in.
Yeah,
let's go for it."
The Widow Son, they do a lot of good charity work, don't they?
They do. These guys, not only just in the state of Alabama, but in other grand jurisdictions. These guys contribute hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to
That's
charity.
what I'm talking about.
All of my guys, let's just talk about the Widow Sons in the state of Alabama. Most, if not all of my guys, hold stations and places in lodges. So they're in the line.
Yeah.
All of my guys wear white button-down shirts with their vests on it and go to funerals. Just, case in point, Brother Delton Havard, past Grand Master, 12, 15 of them there on their motorcycles as an escort for the family to the cemetery. That these guys.
That's masonry.
That's hardcore masonry.
That's masonry right there.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that's awesome.
That's the brotherhood in action.
It's masonry in motion.
That is it. The fraternity going on the wheels. I like
it. Just an off question. What made you choose the yellow with the triangle?
So I had no input in this whatsoever. This is all my wife.
I was going to say there.
She gave me a few different colors and patterns to choose from. I will say that the final choice was mine, but she worked really, really hard and still does to support me, and that's what we were talking about earlier. And she kind of picked out these colors for me.
Very tasteful. Very tasteful. I love it.
Oh yeah, I've gotten well, all of us have gotten so many comments about it, but all credit goes to Miss Anna on this.
And
Absolutely.
the thing I like about it is, the past few grandmasters, it's always been the Masonic ties. It's
Mhm.
always Masonic, and I like how y'all's is more just
Well,
a pattern, a subdued
yeah,
pattern.
and I do like a good vest with a suit.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah,
Me too.
Gotta have the
absolutely.
3-piece. That's
Three pieces.
we're all about it. There'll be nights
Absolutely. We
we'll
like to
text
dress
each
up.
other, "Hey, 3-piece suit tonight."
That's right.
And of course, you always get the whose funeral did you go to
That's right.
today?
Yeah, I can't tell you, all the traveling we've done, we have to stop and put fuel in the car and go into the convenience store and get us a Coke or whatever. And 9 times out of 10, hey, where are y'all going? Or are y'all, my favorite is, are y'all a quartet? Or
That's
are you
good.
going to a
Right.
wedding?
Yeah.
Or, so.
I wanna
Oh,
use
we're the boys of chorus. We like our son.
Exactly. The only thing we were missing was the top hat and cane.
That's I remember that.
what if and there's no real easy way to ask this question, but if there was anything you could change about masonry in general, masonry in Alabama, um, I know different jurisdictions do it different ways
Mhm.
with ritual and things. I'm a ritualist, so I
Absolutely.
focus on the ritual a lot. But if you could change anything about masonry in general and
Mhm.
Alabama masonry, what, if anything, would you?
So let me put a little disclaimer on this to the Jurisprudence Committee and all of the past Grand Masters. It is not in the power of any man or body of men to make innovations in the body of Masonry. However, if this Grand Master did have a wand, I think the one thing that I would do when I put the little wand out there, I would probably take away apathy.
That's great.
Right.
Very
So
good.
another mentor
Apathy
of
kills.
another mentor of mine, Brother John Bagley, in District 26 was the district lecturer for a number of years. I eventually took his place as district lecturer, but he was a grand historian back during, I believe, Brother Frank Little's year. And every time he got an opportunity to speak, he would say the following. He would say, out of all of the wars that we've had, World War One, World War Two, Nazi Germany, um, every time something has come up that would try to kill masonry, we've always survived. But the one thing none of us will survive in masonry is apathy. If you're sitting there at home and you're banking on the fact that, well, a ball game's coming on, I can sit here because somebody else will be there to help open lodge, that's apathy. And the funny part about that, if there is a funny part, is the person you think is going to help open lodge is sitting at home watching a
Watching the
ball
same
game,
show with
thinking
you.
the same thing you
Yeah.
are.
Right.
So if I could wipe anything away, it would be the apathy,
I like
and
that.
then more people would find that spark or that motivation to go to lodge. Because going to lodge, yes, there is a business portion of it. We have to read the minutes. We have to do, sickness and distress. We have to, have the good of the order and all of those things. But masonry can be so much more.
Mhm.
And if we would leave within the length of our cable toe some of that stuff at home and just come to lodge, we could make it so much more.
I like
Excellent.
that.
Yeah,
There's
very
been plenty of days that I just I don't think I'll do it. And now I'm gonna do it.
It's hard,
That's
and when your lodge is one of your plural lodges an hour away from home, sometimes
Absolutely.
it's tough,
It
but,
is.
one of my lodges is Coosa Valley, it's an hour from here.
Yeah.
And there's times, I don't want to go to lodge. I mean, I'm tired after work,
That's right.
run a business and everything, but going back to the obligation,
Mhm.
I'm obliged to be there, right?
That's right. Well, and that's another thing too. I've said this quite a bit to all of the lodges that I've had the opportunity to go and visit. It's a privilege to go to lodge.
right.
All right.
Right.
Now let's examine that a little bit further. Nowhere in here, and I've said this to a bunch of lodges this year, nowhere in here can you find a promise for tomorrow. It doesn't exist, right? None of us knows what's going to happen when we walk out of this room tonight. So to go to lodge is a privilege to be able to sit with your brethren just one more time.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
I got
I
you.
agree 100%. That's
I
good
couldn't
stuff.
agree more.
And that's been my attitude, and hopefully, the if you want to talk about legacy, if the one example legacy, something that I can leave behind for the lodges when I roll out of the East, it's a privilege to sit with your brethren. It's a privilege to shake his hand and hug him around his neck,
Yeah.
because you may not get an opportunity to see him tomorrow.
Mhm.
That's one thing I always get from Ron Forrest at Birmingham Metro.
Absolutely.
He's standing at, Ron's the one that kind of brought the shepherding program
Mm-hmm.
to us. But I know we had a program, but Ron Fire pretty much got and I think you
Yep,
were instrumental with
that's right.
helping him
Yeah.
get this thing started. Is Ron's always standing out there? Come on, nobody gets by without a hug,
That's right.
Yep.
you know, and that's the brotherly love is so important for me. When I was talking earlier about that sense of fondness, that sense
Mm-hmm.
of love,
Yep.
just so much compassion when I was looking out at, especially some of the older men that are in our lives. It's just like, you know, it's a beautiful thing. And if we
Absolutely.
could get more young men, more aged men to buy into this, we're going to make a much better society for
Absolutely.
America, for England, for the world.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you think about it, all of those older, distinguished gentlemen who are, 50 and 60-year Masons, first of all, nobody does anything for 50 or 60 years unless there's something good in it.
Yep.
They
Right.
do not. But on the other side of that too, if you think about this, we're standing on their shoulders. You're standing on the shoulders of giants, people who have laid the foundation for what Masonry currently is today in the state of Alabama. Now, if you think about that legacy,
Mm-hmm.
why wouldn't you want to build on it? Why let it go? You have to continue to build. We're Masons. We build things.
That's one of the things that it's been brought up in our lives before. If we don't carry this legacy on, who's going to?
That's right.
There's got to be another generation,
Absolutely.
and back to the whole revival.
Mhm.
Hopefully, and I would love to see just a huge insurgence of it. But
Absolutely.
even slow progress is progress.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter how slow you go. Eventually, you'll reach that point.
So obviously your term is coming to an end
It
here
is.
soon. What does masonry look like? I mean, you've been so busy, you've been
Mhm.
going. I mean, what's masonry look like for you in the next year?
So I've had, again, several people have said, "Hey, Grandmaster, when you roll off, what are you going to do?" And I think I said this earlier. I've always jokingly quipped, "I'm going to cut my grass and take a nap."
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't think we're going to slow down. Um, it may not be as much travel as we've done over this past year, because only a crazy person travels quite that much, or somebody who loves masonry. But yeah, I think I'm going to slow down. I think what I am going to do is continue to love the lodges and my brethren. I think I am going to explore some more of the appendant bodies, and try and help out there as much as I can. That, that's kind of what I'm going to do.
Good.
You said that about the crazy person. I've always heard somebody ask, "What's just short of obsession? Passionate."
Absolutely.
That's right.
I jokingly said crazy, but yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, we put in a lot of hours. And again, it's for a purpose. It's for a reason. But
and I'm
yeah,
sure it's rewarding too. I mean,
absolutely,
not just personally,
absolutely,
but just in general, just
absolutely.
a lot of fun. That's
And you see, I go back to just when you guys walk in, these young guys' eyes light up. I mean, they're like,
yes.
"Wow, who are they?"
Yep,
It's like talking about giants, and that
Mhm.
you guys are the giants for these young men coming
Yeah,
in our organization.
yeah.
And so, in the next year, you've done all this traveling. You're still going to be a traveling man,
yes, sir.
somewhat. Okay,
Absolutely.
good deal.
Yes. And I still have plans to visit um, some of the other grand jurisdictions. I have friends who are going to come on and be grandmasters after my year rolls out, and of course, we want to go and visit them. I can't tell you the number of friends I've made
Mm.
over these last 4 years, and I think that's the key to all of this. Um, Take grandmaster out of it. If you just sit in your lodge, those are the only people you're going to know.
Yeah.
But I've always looked at it like this: a master of his lodge, he's in charge of the furniture and he's in charge of running the meetings, but he's an ambassador.
Mhm.
Go be an ambassador and see these other lodges. Meet your other brethren. There are so many brethren out there who are your family. So if you talk about terms of what a brother means, to me, I never had a brother. I have a sister, but I've never had a brother until I became a Mason. Now everybody's my
Same
brother
here.
and they're all my family, right? Go
Absolutely.
and see them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're going to do too. I'm not going to go as, I'll always be a past Grand Master, but I'm not going to go and visit these other jurisdictions or even these lodges as a past Grand Master. I'm coming as your brother.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
I've heard several past grandmasters say that, and that's I can, what's the word I'm looking for? Respect that, I guess.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But at the same time, I feel like y'all are worthy of that distinction, and
I thank you,
you
sir.
put in the time, you've put in the hours, and it just especially with your term, it's been just insane.
Thank you.
Just watching on Facebook and everything, and seeing the travels
And the sharpness of the degree work.
yes,
you.
yes,
So good.
Yep.
and it, like I said, it's always good to have y'all in lodge.
Thank you, sir.
It's always motivational,
Yep.
I guess you could say.
Definitely.
Well, have you got anything?
I think I'm coming to the end of it. I want to stress again how pleased I am that Brother Richard
Yeah,
come,
yeah.
Grandmaster Richard Schultz would come and be
It's-
on our
it's-
podcast. Yeah, be
it's
on our
been a minute.
podcast, and we really enjoyed the session with Eric, and we were kind of holding like, well, we got a special guest. We don't know if it's going to happen. We don't know if it's going to happen. And then I was going with you, and
Yep.
your schedule is chaotic,
It's crazy.
mayhem
It's
at
crazy.
best.
Yes.
And we are so appreciative of you
Yes.
taking some time out of your super busy schedule, and I want you to thank Anna for
I'll
allowing you.
certainly do that.
And tell her we
I'll
appreciate that.
certainly do that. Hopefully, when this gets posted, she'll be able to watch this, and she'll
Except when we blacked out.
Except, well, but she'll see that, and I know she'll be happy about that. Absolutely.
Well, I do want to throw in a plug for Grand Lodge.
Mhm.
You probably know the dates better than I do. I know it's the third week in
So
November.
it'd be the 10th, 11th, and 12th of November.
Okay,
Yep.
so anybody watching, I know we've got some folks out of state and out of country. If you're free those days,
Open to all
it'll be
Master
down
Masons.
in Prattville at
That's right.
the Marriott
Embassy Suites.
Embassy Suites.
Embassy.
That's right. We'll cut out the Marriott part. We'll take them out. And it is definitely a fun time. And hopefully, if everything works out, we will be set up down there
Excellent.
doing some interviews with people from outside of our district, kind of get some other views and opinions and things. And hopefully, if everything works out, we were talking about it earlier, maybe going live.
Absolutely.
If we can,
I think that'd
if
be
we can
great.
handle that.
I think that'd be wonderful.
So you may be interviewed again.
Yeah.
If you can catch me.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Just a brief nod.
Probably needed 6 months.
I know he's hard to peg now.
But we do invite anybody that wants to come down there. I know I'm kind of half in the frame and half out. That'll be all right. We've got the star of the show over there. He's the one that matters today. But we would like to invite everybody out. If we are set up down there, feel free to stop by and see us. I only say that because I don't know if we'll do another one before Grand Lodge session. So, but like we said, get out, travel.
Visit your brethren.
Yes,
Go and
visit
see
your
'em.
brethren.
Be a
Go
part.
love
Be a
'em.
part. Don't sit
That's
in
right.
that room like
Exactly.
like Grandmaster said. Don't sit there watching that ball game. Get up and come to lodge.
That's
We
right.
need you.
Yeah.
We need our numbers. We need our
Absolutely.
brethren to support us.
Exactly. So with that, we will leave it. But I do want to open the floor to Brother Richard one more time. If you have any final thoughts, anything you'd like to throw out there.
Like I said, brethren, it's a privilege to be here. It's a privilege to sit with you guys. No matter where I go, I've always said this. It's a privilege because you can't find that promise. But I will say to all of the brethren out there, and I've said this to multiple lodges over this past year, I love you all, and there's not a thing you can do about it.
That's right.
Well
we
said.
love you too, and that's great.
Yes. Well, thank y'all again for watching and listening.
We are the Imperfect Ashlars.
We are staying imperfect as always.
But
And
we're working with those tools to
That's
smooth
right.
the stone up the
Yeah.
best we can.
Amen.
doing the best. Yeah.
That's right.
That's all you can ask. But we love you, and
Love you.
we'll see you on the next one.
Next time. Thank you.
Oh.